People don't just fall for looks, status, or money. They fall for how you make them feel. If you can make someone feel alive when they talk to you, if your conversations give them something they don't get anywhere else, they'll crave more of you without even realizing why. Think about it. Why do we binge watch certain shows? Why do we keep checking our phones for that one message? Because it triggers something inside us. Excitement, curiosity, the thrill of the unexpected. When you create those emotions in your conversations, you become irresistible. The mistake most people make is thinking that being available, replying instantly, or always being there is what keeps someone interested. But the truth is, interest grows in the space between interactions. It's not about constantly talking. It's about making the moments you do talk count. You don't need to be the most talkative person in the room. You don't need to have the best stories. What you need is to make the person on the other side feel something every time they engage with you. One of the easiest ways to do this is through playfulness. Playfulness isn't about cracking jokes all the time. It's about keeping the energy light, unexpected, and engaging. It's the difference between saying, "How was your day?" and "If today had a theme song, what would it be?" See what happened there? The first question leads to a dead-end answer. The second one opens up a world of fun possibilities. It invites someone into a space where they feel excited to respond. People don't want a transactional conversation. They want to experience something. You know that feeling when you're talking to someone and the conversation just flows? That effortless rhythm where time disappears and you're just in it. That's not an accident. That happens when you lead the conversation into emotional spaces instead of logical ones. Facts don't create connections. Feelings do. If someone tells you they had a stressful day, don't just say, "That sucks." Instead say, "If I were there, I'd have kidnapped you for an emergency ice cream run." Suddenly, they're picturing that moment with you. And it brings a smile. That's how you create addictive conversations. You take someone out of their current world and into your world where things are a little more fun, a little more exciting, a little more unexpected. Another crucial part of this is intrigue. If someone knows exactly what you're going to say every time, they don't feel the need to check in. But if they never quite know what's coming next, if there's always a little bit of surprise in how you respond, they start to associate talking to you with something they look forward to. When they get a message from you, it's not just another text, it's an event, a moment that could be fun, deep, ridiculous, or just totally unexpected. And that makes it something they want to keep coming back to. A lot of people think they have to impress the other person to keep them interested. They try too hard to be funny, smart, or charming, and in doing so, they actually create distance. But real connection doesn't come from trying to prove yourself. It comes from allowing yourself to be seen. That means not being afraid to share a weird thought that popped into your head, not filtering every text to sound perfect, not always playing it safe in conversation. It means sometimes saying, "I just saw the most ridiculous thing and I need someone to share this moment with." It's those little things, the unfiltered, raw, and real moments that make someone feel like they're part of your world. Another thing most people don't realize is that silence can be just as powerful as words. If you want to create that addictive energy, don't feel the need to fill every gap with conversation. Let the pauses linger, let the anticipation build. When you send a message, don't rush to follow up if they don't reply immediately. Sometimes the best thing you can do is simply be still and let them feel the space you've left. That space is where their mind starts to wander back to you, where they start thinking, "I wonder what they're doing right now." And that's where the desire to reach out is born. Of course, none of this works if you're faking it. You can't manufacture connection, but you can create the conditions for it to naturally happen. The key is to be genuinely engaged with life. When you're passionate, curious, and constantly discovering new things, you bring that energy into every interaction. If you're bored with your own life, guess what? Your conversations will be boring too. But if you have stories, experiences, and thoughts that excite you, that energy will naturally spill into how you talk to others. So if you want someone to think about you, miss you, and feel drawn to you, Don't focus on getting their attention. Focus on deserving it. Become the person whose conversations feel like a little escape from the ordinary. Be the person who makes them laugh when they're having a bad day. Be the one who challenges them to think differently. When you do that, you won't have to chase anyone. They'll be the ones chasing you. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they want someone to call or text them every day is giving too much too soon. They think that if they stay on the phone longer, reply instantly, or keep conversations going endlessly, it will make the other person more attached. But the truth is, real connection isn't built by constant availability, it's built by desire. And desire thrives in the space between interactions. Think about the last time you got hooked on a TV series. It wasn't because they dumped the entire story on you in one episode. It was because they gave you just enough to make you want more. The best moments came right before a dramatic cut, a cliffhanger that left you counting the minutes until the next episode. This is the same dynamic that keeps someone thinking about you when you're not there. Imagine you're on a great date, the kind where conversation flows effortlessly, where you're both laughing, connecting, sharing stories, and then, just when the energy is at its peak, you say, "I've had such a great time, but I have to get going." You don't drag it out, you don't wait for things to die down. You leave while the energy is still electric. What happens next? They're left with that feeling of excitement lingering in their mind, and they can't wait to see you again. That's the magic of leaving someone wanting more. People don't miss what they have unlimited access to. If every time they text you reply within seconds, or if every call turns into a 3-hour marathon, they start taking your presence for granted, not because they don't like you, but because you haven't given them the chance to miss you. Think about your favorite meal. If you ate it every single day, after a while, you get used to it. You stop craving it because it's always there. But if it's something you only get on special occasions, suddenly it becomes something you look forward to, something that excites you, something you truly appreciate. That's exactly how attraction works. You have to give someone just enough to make them crave more. This isn't about playing games or pretending to be busy when you're not. It's about genuinely living a life so full and exciting that your time is valuable. If you're constantly dropping everything the moment they reach out, it sends the message that you have nothing else going on. But when you're engaged in your own passions, your own goals, your own adventures, you naturally become someone worth chasing. So what does this look like in practice? It means you don't always pick up the phone the second it rings. Not to be rude, but because you're genuinely occupied with something fulfilling. It means you don't feel the need to stretch out every text conversation until it dies of exhaustion. Instead, you send a playful message, you share a funny story, and then you step away before the energy fades. You let them be the one to follow up, to initiate the next conversation, to lean in, because they want to, not because you're forcing it. We've all experienced that moment when someone leaves us wanting more. Maybe it was a conversation that ended too soon, a message that was just a little too short, a moment that made us think, wait, that's it? And what happens? We keep thinking about them. We replay the interaction in our minds. We check our phones, hoping for the next message. That's the power of leaving on a high note. The key is to trust that what you've already given is enough, that you don't need to keep proving your value by extending every interaction. The real magic happens in the moments between conversations, when they start wondering about you, when they start reaching out to get another piece of that energy you bring. Because the truth is, people don't get addicted to someone who's always there. They get addicted to someone who makes them feel something powerful and then steps away just long enough to let that feeling grow. And that's how you get someone to call and text you every single day. If you want someone to call and text you every day, you need to be the person they want to reach out to, not someone they feel obligated to. And this is where most people go wrong. They think the way to keep someone engaged is by constantly chasing, checking in, or making themselves available 24/7. But in reality, it's not about being around all the time. It's about how you make them feel when you are. Think about the people in your life who you enjoy talking to, the ones who, when you see their name pop up on your screen, make you want to answer right away. What is it about them? It's not just what they say, it's how they make you feel. They bring something into your world that lifts your energy, that makes your day just a little bit brighter. And that's the key, because when you become a source of positive energy, people naturally gravitate toward you. See, so many people think attraction is about looks, about status, about what you do for someone. But real connection? That's about how someone feels in your presence. It's about the emotional experience you create when you interact. And when you consistently leave someone feeling better after talking to you, more excited, more alive, more seen, they will crave that feeling again and again. Now, you might be thinking, okay, great, but how do I actually do that? It starts with the energy you bring. Are you someone who complains a lot? Do you always vent about work, stress, or drama? Do your messages feel like an emotional drain rather than a spark? Because if that's the case, you're training this person to avoid your texts rather than look forward to them. I'm not saying you have to be fake or pretend everything's perfect. But there's a difference between sharing your struggles in a way that invites connection and just dumping negativity on someone. When you talk to them, do you bring an energy that excites? Do you share things that inspire, make them laugh, make them think? Do you ask interesting questions instead of just saying, hey, how's your day? If you want someone to keep reaching out, you have to give them a reason. And that reason is how they feel when they hear from you. There's something powerful about being the kind of person who notices the small things, the way they phrase something in a text, a little change in their tone, a detail they mentioned last week that you bring up again. When you show that level of presence, that attention to detail, it makes them feel special. And the more someone feels seen by you, the more they'll want to keep you in their life. But here's the part most people forget. You have to be the source of positive energy in your own life first, because you can't fake this. If you're constantly waiting for someone to text you back to feel good, if your whole mood depends on whether they reach out, you're handing over your power. And that energy, it's not attractive. People want to be around those who bring value, not those who need them to feel validated. So ask yourself, are you living a life that excites you? Are you filling your days with things that make you happy? Are you surrounding yourself with people who lift you up? Because when you do that, you naturally radiate the kind of energy that makes people want to be part of your world. You don't have to chase texts. You don't have to wonder if they'll call. They'll want to, because talking to you feels good. And that's what this is really about. When someone reaches out, it's not just because they like you. It's because they like how they feel when they're with you. And if you become the person who consistently brings value, excitement, and warmth into their life, you won't have to wonder if they'll call. You'll know they will. You ever notice how the people we chase the hardest are often the ones who seem just out of reach? It's not because they're playing some manipulative game. It's because they understand something fundamental about human nature. We value what isn't always readily available. And this is where most people go wrong in dating. They think that the more effort they put in, the more text they send, the more availability they offer, the more someone will reciprocate. But in reality, it often does the opposite. It takes away the intrigue. It makes the whole dynamic predictable. And what's predictable quickly becomes boring. The secret isn't in ignoring someone, nor is it about playing mind game. It's about understanding the natural rhythm of attraction. When someone puts in effort, when they text, when they call, when they make plans, you match their energy. But here's the key, you add a twist. Instead of overwhelming them with attention, you respond with just enough enthusiasm to show you're engaged, but not so much that it removes all challenge. See, when you mirror their effort, you create a sense of balance. If they send a text, you reply. If they ask to see you, you make an effort to be there. But here's what most people don't do. They don't leave space. They don't allow for the other person to wonder, to anticipate, to miss them. And missing someone is one of the most powerful emotional triggers in attraction. Think about it. When you know someone is always going to text back instantly, when you know they're always available, Where's the excitement? Where's the curiosity? The best relationships have an element of unpredictability. Not in a way that makes someone anxious, but in a way that keeps them engaged. Imagine this, you're having a great conversation over text. It's flowing, it's fun, you're both laughing. Most people would keep it going until it naturally fizzles out. But what if you ended it first? What if at the peak of that excitement you said, "Hey, this has been great, but I've got to run. Let's pick this up later." That moment leaves them wanting more. It tells them, this was fun, but my time is valuable. And suddenly you become someone they look forward to hearing from again. Now, let's talk about when to pull back slightly. A lot of people hear this and think, okay, so I just stop replying or I wait hours to respond. No, that's game playing and it backfires. What you want to do is be slightly less available at times, not as a strategy, but as a natural part of your life. If you're always ready to drop everything for someone, they're going to assume there's nothing exciting going on in your world. But when you have a life you're actually engaged in, when you're genuinely busy, when you've got things that fulfill you beyond this person, that's when they start thinking, wait, what's going on in their world? Why aren't they texting me all day? I kind of miss them. And that's the magic. That's when they start initiating. That's when they start texting you first because they feel that subtle sense of, I don't have complete access to this person, but I want to. Here's a mistake I see all the time. Someone starts dating someone they really like, and in an effort to make that person like them back, they overcompensate. They start doing too much. They send good morning and good night texts every single day, even if the other person isn't reciprocating. They're the first to reach out for plans. They're always checking in. And before they know it, they've become predictable. The other person starts feeling like there's nothing left to figure out, nothing to pursue, nothing to earn. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should never initiate. I'm not saying you should sit back and wait for someone else to always make the first move. That's not what creates a strong connection either. What does, however, is making sure that when you give, you're also receiving. If you're always the one texting first, pause and see what happens when you don't. If you're always the one suggesting plans, let them come to you sometimes. And if you feel like you're always the one carrying the conversation, step back and see if they step up. And here's the thing, if they don't, that tells you everything you need to know. When someone is genuinely interested, they want to keep the dynamic alive. They want to be the one reaching out. But they won't do that if you've already made it so easy that they don't have to. People invest in what they feel they have to work for. It's just how we're wired. Think about the last time you really wanted something. A job, an opportunity, even a product you were excited about. You probably put in effort to get it, right? And because of that effort, it meant something to you. But when something is handed to us without any effort, we take it for granted. So when you mirror their energy, but add that slight twist, when you give just enough to show interest, but not so much that it removes all challenge, you create the perfect balance. They get the reassurance that you're interested, but they also feel compelled to do their part. And when they do, that's when you know you've sparked something real. So if you want them to call and text you every day, stop making it so easy. Give them something to miss. Give them a reason to wonder. Because the moment someone feels like they have to earn even a little bit of your time, that's the moment they start valuing it more. If you want someone to think about you, to miss you, to crave your presence enough to call or text you every day, you have to give them a reason to. And that reason isn't found in chasing, in constantly reminding them you exist, or in over-explaining your worth. No, the real secret is much simpler. Be someone worth catching up on. Think about it. Why do we reach out to certain people and not others? Why do we feel the pull to check in with someone, even when life gets busy? It's because deep down we know that when we talk to them, we'll get something special. It could be a burst of laughter, a fresh perspective, or just the feeling of being plugged into an exciting world that we don't want to miss out on. So, if you want them to reach out to you consistently, make sure you're someone they can't afford to ignore. The mistake most people make is thinking attraction is just about words. about the way they phrase a text or how quickly they reply. But attraction isn't built in the moment of the conversation. It's built in the moments in between. It's built when they see you living a life that's compelling, when they feel like if they don't reach out, they'll miss something incredible. You have to ask yourself, what's happening in your life that makes someone curious? Are you doing things that make them think, I wonder what they're up to today? Are you creating a life that naturally invites people in, not because you're forcing it, but because it's genuinely interesting? If the answer is no, then you have some work to do. People are drawn to energy. They're drawn to momentum. We are fascinated by people who have something going on, who have passion, who are constantly evolving. If your days look the same, if your world doesn't have any movement, then there's nothing pulling them toward you. They won't feel compelled to check in because they already know what they'll get, the same thing as yesterday. But when you're someone who is always growing, always experiencing, always discovering something new, that's when you become magnetic. You don't have to post every detail of your life on social media. You don't have to constantly talk about how busy or exciting things are. It's about subtly signaling that you are a person of value, someone with depth, with interests, with a world that is rich and full, whether they are in it or not. That's the key. It has to be real. You can't fake it. You can't pretend to be busy or pretend to have an exciting life just to get attention, because eventually that illusion fades. The real way to make someone want to call or text you every day is to actually be someone worth talking to. Someone who brings new energy, fresh insights, and a different perspective every time they interact with you. When they see you going after your goals, when they see you learning, laughing, pushing yourself in new ways, it does something powerful. It makes them want to be part of that journey. It makes them feel like if they don't stay connected, they'll miss out. And people hate missing out on something great. This doesn't mean you have to live some extravagant, wild lifestyle. You don't need to travel the world or have $1 million business to be interesting. What makes you captivating is your ability to be engaged in your own life. It's about the enthusiasm you bring to whatever it is you're doing. If you're passionate about something, whether it's your career, a hobby, fitness, learning a new skill, that passion is infectious. And when people see that, they're drawn in. A person who is truly attractive is someone who doesn't need validation from anyone else to feel good about their life. They create their own excitement, their own adventure, their own fun. And the moment you start embodying that, the dynamic shifts. You stop being the one who's waiting for their text, and instead, you become the person they're eager to hear from. We've all had that experience where we meet someone who has this energy about them, where every conversation with them feels like stepping into a different world. You leave feeling inspired, refreshed, and maybe even a little more alive. That's the effect you want to have. When you do, people will naturally want more of it. They won't just text you because they feel obligated or because they're bored. They'll text you because it adds something valuable to their day. The best part? When you truly embrace this mindset, you stop worrying about whether or not they reach out because your life is already full. And ironically, that's when they start calling and texting even more because they can feel it. They can feel that you are in motion, that your world is growing, and they want to be part of it. So don't wait for someone else to bring excitement into your life. Create it yourself. Become the kind of person who is genuinely worth catching up on, and watch how quickly they start chasing you. You know what makes someone irresistibly drawn to you? It's not just how much attention you give them, but the way you make them feel when they're around you. And the secret? It's making them feel special, without making them feel like they're your only option. Let's talk about this, because this is where so many people get it wrong. They meet someone they really like, and suddenly that person becomes their entire world. Every text is analyzed. Every call anticipated like it's a life-changing event. They start adjusting their schedule, their energy, their whole demeanor around the hope that this person will call, will text, will want to see them. And what happens? That person stops feeling excited. They stop feeling drawn in. because they don't feel like they've earned your attention anymore. It's just freely given. See, attraction isn't just about being liked. It's about being valued. When someone feels like your attention is rare, like it's something to be won, they cherish it, they think about it, they crave it. But the moment they feel like they have your undivided focus, without any effort on their part, the dynamic shifts. Your value in their mind drops. Think about the people you've been drawn to the most in your life, the ones who kept you on your toes, the ones who had their own lives, their own passions, their own energy that didn't depend on you. When you were around them, you felt special, but you also felt like they were a prize. That's the balance you need to create. So, how do you do this? First, you stop putting them at the center of your universe. Your time is precious. Your energy is valuable. That means you don't answer every text the second it comes in. You don't jump at every opportunity to see them. Not because you're playing games, but because you genuinely have things going on that are important to you. When they see that you're busy, when they notice that you have passions and people in your life outside of them, they start to feel something crucial: respect. And respect breeds attraction. The next thing, you give them attention in a way that feels intentional, not desperate. See, a lot of people think that being available 24/7 is what makes someone feel wanted, but it's not. What makes someone feel truly special is when they see that your time is limited, yet you choose to give them a piece of it. When they know that you could be anywhere, doing anything, and yet you're choosing to engage with them in this moment, that's powerful. That's where connection deepens. And here's the key. You're not withholding affection or playing hard to get. You're simply showing that your life is full, that you're someone worth keeping up with. When they realize that your presence in their life isn't a given, but something they need to nurture, they start putting in the effort. They start calling, they start texting, because suddenly you're not just an option, you're an opportunity. But here's where people mess it up. They take this idea and swing too far in the other direction. They start acting distant, unbothered, unavailable to the point where the other person just gives up. That's not what this is about. It's about balance. It's about making sure that when you're with them, when you're talking to them, you make them feel incredible. You make them feel seen. You make them feel like they matter. But then, when you're not with them, you go back to living a life that's so rich, so fulfilling, that they can't help but want to be a part of it. And here's something people forget. Attraction isn't just about desire. It's about uncertainty. It's about a little bit of mystery, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that keeps the energy exciting. If they always know exactly when you're going to text, if they can predict every move you're going to make, there's no anticipation. And anticipation is what keeps people engaged. It's what makes someone check their phone, hoping to see your name pop up. It's what makes them think about you when you're not around. So don't be predictable. Don't be overly available. Don't make them feel like they're the only thing going on in your world. Instead, make them feel like they've found something rare, something they don't want to lose. Because when you do that, they won't just want to call and text you every day. They'll need to.